There he is.
Charlie Carbs and Cycling.
Stage 3 2018, Egan Bernal, absolute legend himself, wins the time trial. Now, Bernal normally posts his data on Strava. Unfortunately, he didn't today, but we still got some great data to look through. So you can see Thomas de Gent did well. He posted on Strava. Bernal, absolute legend, ridden with the man himself. He can climb incredibly fast. He's super lean, super lightweight. You can see all the lads. Mix of TT, like clip-on bars and road bikes. But anyway, very interesting stage. Right, so we'll go down onto the results. So you can see Egan Bernal beat Primož Roglic by 4 seconds. And we'll try and estimate roughly what his power is. It's hard to tell exactly, but you can be pretty sure. So anyway, we go through the list. So Bernal normally post to Strava with power, but I think Team Sky must have been like, boy, you can't do that because everyone will find out how strong you are. Roglic doesn't have Stravs. Port does have Stravs. Don't think he did post at power today. I don't think he's even uploaded. Kreuzweg again. Costa no. Latour no. Dennis no. Martin no. Bookman no. Spilak no. Jonas Zagiri no. So we have to scroll through quite a lot of people to actually figure out. The first person I believe who has power actually comes really late. Joe Dombrowski is 2 minutes 23 back. So it's really not great, but we can we'll be able to roughly tell what sort of wattage he was doing. So John Dombrowski held about, there's not a segment for the whole TT climb. Joe Dombrowski. So for the effort, I believe he held about 405 watts, which is about 6.4 watts per kilo. Now for me, I think this is wrong. Just based on what I saw Thomas de Gent do. So Thomas de Gent said that 419 was 6.1, and if you look at the time difference between Dombrowski and de Gent, that's it's only 10 seconds. So that's just not right, and it would also mean that Egan Bernal was hitting about 7 watts per kilo, which I again don't believe is right. So I believe that in fact Dombrowski is probably underestimating his weight. Underestimating his weight. I think he's probably a little bit heavier. So we'll take Thomas de Gent about 6.1 watts per kilo. We also have another guy who is quite useful to study just in terms of weight. So we have James Knox. So again, very similar weight. I'd say Egan Bernal, James Knox is about 58 kilos. I'd say Egan Bernal is around 56. It's hard to tell exactly because he doesn't really like to say, but you can roughly do some climbing algorithms and figure out sort of what watts per kilo he's doing. I know his watts, so it's not crazy hard to figure out his watts per kilo, obviously. So he did about 5.8 watts per kilo for a 27-minute effort again. So if we scroll down to James Knox finished, where is he? 55th place, 3 minutes 46 down. So again, the minute gap, and that's about 0.4 watts per kilo, which sounds about right. So again, obviously there's air resistance which increases not linearly. So it's hard to exactly tell what Egan Bernal is doing. But from my estimations, I'd say about 6.4 to 6.5 watts per kilo would be my rough estimation of Egan Bernal. And assuming that Egan Bernal is about 56 times 6.4. That's why my gut feeling is he probably did about 360 to 370 watts for that climb, and it's insane. Like, he's actually incredibly strong. Just beats Richie Port, who's in great form. It's a shame that more people haven't uploaded, but you can tell, like, if you want to win these mountain, basically a 25-minute time trial, 20-minute time trial more or less, in the middle of a World Tour race, you have to be able to do 6.5 watts per kilo, which when you think about, like, that's not even fresh, so that's, like, after racing. Like, fresh, you can probably use 6.6, 6.7 watts per kilo. Maybe a little bit more, maybe 6.8. I'm not 100% sure because he dusted off some very good power. I think he might not be even light. It's just so hard to tell with him because at one point he did a climb which should be around 6 watts per kilo, and he did like 310 watts, which is like 52 kilos. So it's really hard to tell Egan Bernal's weight. So he might have done slightly less power, but I'd say in terms of watts per kilo, he's definitely around 6.5 to 6.6 watts per kilo for this effort, which is quite frankly insane. I can hold that for maybe 5 minutes. At a push, like that's my best ever, like great form, everything else, and he just does that in the middle of a race for 25 minutes. Like obviously it's a time trial, but even so, middle of a stage race is insane. He caught Jonathan Castrovilliers, who was 2 minutes ahead of him. I mean, he's a solid climber. He beat, I mean, like look at the times he put into people like Dan Martin, minute and a half. Like that's insane. Like a minute and a half. Nieve 2 minutes. Like, I mean, if you think about if this is in a climb though, it's a 25-minute climb. There's no way that any of these guys would have such big time differences, but because it's the TT, they just go full gas and really see who's strong. So Geraint Thomas had a disaster. Apparently, he just blew up. He was holding 400 at the beginning and then blew up and only had about 380, which is why I think for Dombrowski to do 6.4, Geraint Thomas is only like 68 maybe. So that's what he likes to say. So if he's holding 380, that's around 6 watts per kilo, a little less, 400. Actually, no. It's the thing is, it was also hard to tell because Geraint Thomas had aero bar, so maybe he's more aerodynamic. It's always a little bit hard. The maths is always a so. It's like it's a fine art. I mean, if you look at other people who estimate their VAM, I mean, we can look at we could calculate the VAM of Egan Bernal, but I'm not sure it would be crazy useful. And we can just look at Thomas de Gent, for example. He had 1700 VAM on an 8% gradient, which corresponds pretty well to 6 watts per kilo. Normally about 1600 VAM is around 6 watts per kilo, this sort of gradient. So you think Egan Bernal is probably doing like 1890, probably 1800 VAM. We can go on a VAM calculator, and we'll be able to figure out what sort of watts per kilo this man is doing, because he's pretty insane. We'll go on this other one. I quite like this one. So time he did, what did he do? He did a 25 minutes 10. And starting altitude, it's going to take a bit of time to do. Starting altitude at the very bottom was 459. Also, obviously, we have to guess his aerodynamic, like what he did in terms of aero, like his CDA, sorry, which is hard, which is obviously like not great. Gradient was what, 8%, I think it was. And then the power model, we'll have to, if we could just calculate this. So 6.65 watts per kilo is what it says. So it's pretty close. But again, the wind, I'm not sure what the wind was. Again, we can use an app called My Windsock, and we can look at, well, you can look at part of the segment. Actually, we can just look at James Knox's ride and just see, assuming this is correct. So it's pretty interesting though with this Strava that you'll be able to. Okay, we can't look at that, but we'll be able to look at this segment instead, and that's most of the way, I guess. Is there a way to get a better segment? We could do this segment actually. That's probably the best way of doing. Anyway, well, it doesn't really matter. We'll be able to figure out what the wind was and then add that in and see if we can get a more accurate value. I really do like studying the power of people. So it's 1.1 to 2.2 meters per second. So it was, well, yeah, I mean, headwind, tailwind, it wasn't really, I mean, it looks like it's just pretty much dead crosswind / tailwind. So we'll put like probably 1 kilometer an hour tailwind. CDA is probably pro rider road bike. Oh, hang on a minute, what the fuck is this? Let's see if Egan Bernal's on there. I don't think he will be. No, he's not. I'll see if I can find someone who I think would have a similar height. Now, Caleb Ewan, maybe if we pick Nairo Quintana could be similar. We'll see if he's on it. Nairo Quintana isn't on this. Okay. Keep going through, see if I can see anyone else who I think could be the right height. Because you want to pick someone who's, it's hard because he's super lean and skinny. Like normally this climbs a little bit. Boswell's too heavy. Oh my. Oh no, because the CDA. This is getting really confusing. Trying to figure out who I should actually choose. It's also going very quickly as well. What about? They don't seem to have many climbers on this, unfortunately. I guess climbers don't really care as much about that CDA, but it's still annoying because I'd quite like to be able to see. Let's pick Diego Rosa. He's 178, 65 kilos. I mean, I can't really see anyone who's gonna be. I didn't realize what that was. 56 kilos. What was that? 56 kilos. Okay, we'll choose Andre Cardoso then. He's a little bit similar. Asphalt Road, the rider weight. Well, I'll put 56. 6.78 watts per kilo. Actual watts, 475. Well, that doesn't sound right at all. Hang on a minute. There's no way. 56 times 6.78. Yeah, it's like 380 watts. Yeah, it's probably right. I don't know why it's saying 474.8. We'll calculate. Yeah, sorry, 386.2 watts. So that's roughly what we're talking about for Egan Bernal. So he's an incredible rider. If you want to follow him on Strava, definitely do. He posts some good data. He had his he's got a good sprint on the young man. And he just posts data from most of his races, which is really interesting to look at, because he was, in my opinion, probably the top 5 climbers, top 10 climbers in the whole of the World Tour. Like he's up there, 100%, especially on the shorter climbs. I haven't seen him in longer climbs yet, but Tour de l'Avenir he did very well. So yeah, it's super exciting watching this man. 1800 VAM is fat. It's big. If anyone who's done 1800 VAM for any length of time on an 8% gradient, you can tell you're motoring. I mean, you average what, 23.5 k an hour? I mean, that's fast on a 5% gradient, let alone like a 8% gradient. So anyway, cheers for watching. Hope you find this exciting. I'll see you in the next video.